But these guys are Nigerian. I mean, I presume they have Nigerian accents. It would be like, "This is MAGA country, Wakanda forever." Jussie Smollett is a psychopath.
Mr. Reagan.
Now, everybody has heard by now about the alleged attack on Jussie Smollett, the gay black actor on the show Empire. He says he was beaten up by Trump supporters who tied a noose around his neck, shouted, "This is MAGA country," as well as racist and homophobic slurs.
He said, "This MAGA country," punches me right in the face. There was a second person involved who was kicking me in my back. Then it just stopped. They ran off. And then I look down and I see that there's a rope around my neck. Then I was like, there's bleach on me too.
So it's been long speculated, since Jussie Smollett's claim was first made, that the attack was a hoax. Unlike the Covington incident, the hoax hypothesis was right there from the start. However, that did not stop a lot of mainstream media journalists from instantly believing Jussie Smollett and decrying the ugly bigotry of Trump supporters. Eugene Scott at the Washington Post wrote that this is another reminder for black gay Americans that this president's vision of great America does not appear to include them. Don Lemon said that he was not shocked by the attack, and then he went on further to criticize anyone who might question the veracity of Jussie Smollett's story. Yamiche Alcindor of the PBS NewsHour tweeted about the attack, "This is disgusting." It is disgusting, Yamiche, but probably not in the way that you think. Karen Ataya of the Washington Post said, "Yet another reminder that Trump's ascent and the resulting climate of hate has meant that lives have been increasingly at stake since 2015. Smollett could have been killed by those thugs screaming, 'Make America Great Again.'" Let that sink in. Okay, you know what? Hold on a second, guys. Let's let that sink in. And what does she mean, yet another reminder? Almost every indication that I've seen of a climate of hate comes from you in the media declaring it, or a hoax, or a false accusation. There's a lot of hate right now in America, but it's not against black people, or gays, or Muslims. It's against Donald Trump and Trump supporters. Brooke Baldwin, CNN, absolutely despicable. Totally agree. Amy Siskind, Huffington Post, "Can we get anyone in the Trump orbit to condemn the two MAGA men who brutally attacked Jussie Smollett so others don't feel like your silence is legitimizing hate? How about you, Donald Trump?"
I think that's horrible. It doesn't get worse, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, Amy, I'll condemn the attack. Will you? Or will your silence legitimize hate against Trump supporters? These are just a few responses by journalists. I got these all off of an article on Breitbart, and if you want to check that out, there are 12 examples, and I'm sure you can find dozens more just by briefly searching on the internet.
Kamala Harris, a 2020 contender, called it an attempted modern-day lynching.
Cory Booker came out and immediately proposed making a new law against lynching, because that's such a big problem in America. And the head of the NAACP came out and blamed Trump for all of this. Now, according to USA Today, at least one police officer has come out anonymously and reported that the suspects in the attack, the two black men from Nigeria, who actually know Jussie Smollett, have admitted that Jussie Smollett paid them to attack him.
Two brothers initially brought in for questioning told police it was Smollett who orchestrated the alleged attack himself. Smollett directed them to buy the rope at this hardware store and reportedly even rehearsed the assault ahead of time.
Presumably so that he can then make up this story about being attacked by Trump supporters.
And I looked up and I saw that there was a camera directly on the light post that is in the intersection. So I'm like, there it is.
Now, they may be lying. It's possible that these guys beat up Jussie Smollett for some other reasons, maybe personal reasons, and in order to hide their identities, they pretended that the attack was some kind of racist, homophobic attack by Trump supporters. But these guys are Nigerian. It seems awfully strange to me that they would believe that they could disguise their identities by shouting, "This is MAGA country." I mean, I presume they have Nigerian accents. I presume they have Nigerian accents. It would be like, "This is MAGA country, Wakanda forever." Yeah, I don't think that's what happened. It's just such a stupid story. Look, we won't know until the investigation is concluded, but it seems pretty likely at this point that this is a hoax. There were a lot of strange things about the initial story, which is why there was such early speculation about it being a hoax. This attack happened in a very black, very gay area of Chicago, and Jussie Smollett first said that his attackers were white.
It feels like if I had said it was a Muslim or a Mexican or someone black, I feel like the doubters would have supported me a lot more, because I saw this, and you know, right here or whatever, but I can't tell you what color their eyes were.
Now, even if somebody is wearing a balaclava, you can still tell their race.
Hey, give me your money. Raymond, that's you.
No, this ain't Raymond. Nah.
Take off that damn mask and put down that gun.
And if they're shouting, "This is MAGA country," in Nigerian accents, and you happen to know a couple of Nigerian brothers, that information might also be helpful in identifying, apprehending, and bringing these men to justice. Keep in mind, Jussie Smollett has stated that he always believed that these two guys were the ones who attacked him.
I don't have any doubt in my mind that that's them. Never did.
Turns out the men are brothers who knew Smollett, one as a personal trainer and as an extra on Empire, Smollett's TV show.
But then, why wouldn't he have just told police who attacked him? If he knew these guys, why not just tell the police who it was? It is, to me, 100% obvious that this was a hoax. For whatever reason, Jussie Smollett felt like being attacked by racist, homophobic Trump supporters would somehow be of benefit to himself or to the world. I don't know what this guy's motivation is, but it's an awfully weird thing to do. If Jussie Smollett had been believed, this attack would have been classified as a hate crime. The classification of a hate crime has been criticized since its inception, and for good reason. Tracking hate crimes is a great way to create the illusion that white people in America are racists. You often hear reporters say, hate crimes are on the rise. They will use this to support their idea that Donald Trump somehow inspires racism. But characterizing a crime as a hate crime is impossible to do with any accuracy or precision. Any interracial crime could have a partially racial motivation, but unless somebody uses a racial slur or states affirmatively that they were motivated by bigotry, there is no way of knowing whether bigotry played a role in motivating the crime. So bigoted motivations are probably significantly underreported. I also think that we're highly sensitive to any kind of bigotry that comes from white people aimed at black people or Muslims or homosexuals. I think that most people in America are far less sensitive to bigotry aimed at straight white men. In fact, I can imagine that in many cases in which the victim was white, obvious indications of racism were ignored. This is because racism against white people in America is not considered a huge problem, even though it actually is. So if we're going to classify some crimes as hate crimes, and we're going to use those statistics as evidence of bigotry in America, we have to be consistent, and we have to be very precise with the application of those laws. The truth is, the whole hate crime thing needs to go away. I don't think it's at all accurate. And look, a crime is a crime. Being motivated by bigotry doesn't make your crime better or worse. Crimes need to be assessed on their own terms, not on perceived motivations which may or may not be real. You know what? Even though I don't trust these statistics for 1 second, let's look into them anyway. White people make up 73% of the population. According to the FBI, white people commit 38% of hate crimes. And that includes Latinos, by the way. Even though there are strong cultural and ethnic differences between white Americans and Latinos, the FBI groups Latinos in with other racial groups, primarily white people. So even these numbers are wrong, but whatever. Black people are 12% of the population and commit 14% of hate crimes. This means that black people are 3 times more likely to commit a hate crime than a white person. And that's using statistics skewed against white Americans. Furthermore, hate crimes committed by white people are generally benign. Hate crimes against white people are much more likely to be violent. In 2017, of the 3,228 hate crimes committed by white people, 1,821 were non-violent. That's 56%. In fact, 1/3 of these so-called hate crimes were simply listed as intimidation. On the contrary, of the 1,217 hate crimes reported to have been committed by black people, 697 were violent. That's 57%. So black people are more likely to commit hate crimes, and if a white person commits a hate crime, it's most likely non-violent. If a black person commits a hate crime, it's most likely going to be violent. In fact, black people commit 9 times more violent crimes against white people than white people commit against black people.
If you look at violent interracial crime, black-white crime, there are about 1 million acts of violent black-white crime any given year. And by violent, I mean rape, murder, robbery with aggravated manslaughter. about 90% of that involves a black perpetrator and 90% involves a white victim.
Now, if all of these attacks were classified as hate crimes, then the hate crime ratio would change drastically. We would see that, in fact, black people commit 9 times as many hate crimes against white people as white people commit against blacks. The arbitrary assignment of hate crime indicates nothing about American culture or American values. It simply creates an inaccurate and deceptive data set that leftists can use to support their false narrative that America is deeply racist. Leftists just can't seem to accept that Trump supporters are not racist, sexist, homophobic monsters. In fact, they believe this so much that they're actually framing us for crimes that we're not actually committing. Hoaxes and false accusations against white men, and specifically against Trump supporters, have become all too common in America. I would actually estimate that the number of false accusations against Trump supporters actually far outweigh the number of real attacks. A lot of people in America really want Trump supporters to be racist. However, they're not seeing the kind of expressions of racism that they need to see in order to justify their hatred of Trump supporters. So, to prove to other Americans that Trump supporters are racist, they are now resorting to hoaxes and false accusations. To illustrate the severity of this problem, I've compiled a little montage. Let's have a look.
Last month, Pastor Jordan Brown held back tears while announcing he was suing Whole Foods Market for writing a gay slur on a cake he ordered. Turns out, it was all a hoax.
An Odessa, Texas waiter now says he lied about a customer leaving a receipt with a racist message.
A young girl claimed a man cut her hijab with scissors as she walked to school. Today, police say that incident did not happen.
Authorities have charged the black woman in Long Island, New York, for making up a story about a Trump-related hate crime. Adua Lewis told detectives that 4 teenagers confronted her as she was driving home, yelling Trump 2016, before stating that she did not belong there. Police, however, found Lewis fabricated the whole story and even wrote the note herself.
Yasmin Saweed claimed that a group of drunk men yelled at her and tried to tear off her hijab. It turns out that she, in fact, admitted to making up that story.
Andrew King reported being horrified when he went outside and discovered 2 swastikas spray painted across the front of his home in upstate New York. Police are now saying he did it himself.
It was a racially fueled crime. We were 3 black girls jumped by like 20 white people.
That was a frightened-sounding Ariel Agudio, who said passengers on the bus used their fists and racial slurs against them. But her tone seems to drastically change when she apparently doesn't realize her call is still being recorded while on hold with a 911 dispatcher.
I think it's so funny, though. A beautiful boy.
2 female students reported they received letters under their dorm door on November 15th. 2 days ago, those same 2 students reported they received another racist note under their door, but one of the students admitted to writing it herself.
His referral stems from a letter sent to the office of Senator Kamala Harris back in September. That undated handwritten letter gave a graphic description of an alleged rape committed by Kavanaugh and a friend. They say Monroe Layton finally admitted over the phone to pretending to be the letter's author. She allegedly made that decision out of anger, saying it was a ploy to derail Kavanaugh's confirmation.
This story spread like wildfire, not just on social media, but then beyond, mainstream media.
The Twitter account that helped spread the initial video has been removed. The user, @2020Fight, claimed to be a teacher and an advocate named Talia from California.
Trump supporters are not bigoted, but a lot of people are bigoted against Trump supporters. I've set up my Patreon account, so if you want to support this channel, please click the link in the description. If you don't want to use Patreon, I also have a subscribe star, or you can support the channel through PayPal. Well, that's it for me. If you like this episode, hit the like button. If you want to see more like this, please subscribe. And if you hate me, you might be a fan of the show Empire. I've never seen the show, so I can't comment on that, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Jussie Smollett won't be working on there very much longer, because he'll be in prison. This is MAGA country, Wakanda forever! Good night.
The goal for all of us should be that one day things will be done neither because of nor in spite of any of the differences between us, ethnic differences or racial differences, whatever they may be, that we will have total equal opportunity for all people. And I would do everything I could in my power to bring that about.